Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Sorry about little delay for some technical glitches. As I always tell you that in this particular chat or podcast, I talk to people with inspirational deeds and minds. And this evening, my esteemed guest is Dr. Avinash Joshi.
Namaskar.
Avinash Joshi um, did his schooling, former chair professor of NTPC in Doon University. Besides all these HR and uh, training activities and teaching, he is also an author. He has written a book on Birds of Dehradun University. Another book he has co-authored is on a roadmap to development of Uttarakhand. So, Avinash, welcome to our show, and we
Thank you,
will.
Uday. Thanks a lot for inviting me to your show. I'm indeed grateful to you. And just one correction that I am not holding a position in ISTD anymore. I am a former director of ISTD. So
Okay,
presently I'm a freelancer.
okay, great, great. Freelancers are better placed, like me. So, Avinash, please tell us something about your schooling and then your experiences, both in education and in career, before we talk further.
Uday bhai, I grew up in Uttarakhand. My father was a range officer in forest department, so we used to get transferred from one place to another. So initially, I did not see any school till I was 7 because of his postings at various places. There was no school nearby. So my first teacher was my mother, who used to teach me with the coal, and I used to write on the floor, and then she used to teach me how to write and how to count. Then there were stones. Then I used to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that was my early education, and from Kotdwara, I passed. I straightway took admission in class fourth, and next year I passed out class fifth. So that was the initial schooling, and then we came to Dehradun, and I joined a school, scholars home, and then time it was known as Vidya Mandir in Dehradun, and it was a Hindi medium, because when I came down from the hills, there was no English medium at that time. So when I came to Dehradun, it was a very big challenge for me to get admission in a public school, because all the public schools were having English mediums. So Vidya Mandir or Scholars Home had the section, Hindi medium section. So I got a privilege to get admission in that. Until 10th class, I was a student in Hindi medium. So that was a very big learning opportunity for me. And then 12th class, I passed from DAV Inter College, and I pursued my BSc in chemistry, zoology, and botany from DAV College. And then I moved on to JNU, where we met first. And from sciences to history, that was the journey, initial years. And after that, I did my MBA in human resource management from IGNU. And when I joined NTPC, when I was working in NTPC, then only I joined IGNU as a part-time scholar. And during my service only, and I in fact worked in NTPC for a span of 8 years, and I joined NTPC in 84, continued up to 92, and then joined Nathpa Jhakri Power Corporation, the biggest hydropower project in Himachal. I worked there for 10 years in Shimla, and the beautiful this thing, Himachal Pradesh. I had the opportunity to explore the state when I was working in this beautiful place. And then in 2000, I got the opportunity to come to Uttarakhand when the state was formed. I also joined the same year in Teri Hydro Development Corporation, continued for 15 years, and then joined Uttarakhand Jal Vidyut Nigam as a director HR. And after my superannuation, I got the opportunity to work with Indian Society for Training and Development as director. That was in December 2019. And immediately after joining, the COVID started, and the whole world changed to online mode. and we had a big opportunity to transform the society. And from physical classes, we moved on to online classes, from management development programs, which were conducted in five-star hotels and in such places. We moved totally to online management development program. So that was a great learning for me. In fact, when I entered the academia, I got the opportunity to work with Doon University as an NTPC chair professor in the Center for Public Policy. So that was my academia and industry journey. And now I am working freelance as a trainer in companies like NTPC, THDC, Gale, and many others.
Thank you, Avinash. Let's straight away move to our technical question. My friends who have been CEOs, they tell me that the most important thing in managing organizations is HR, HR, and HR. So please tell us some of your memorable experiences with HR.
You are very right. In fact, it is all about human beings, because you may have the finest of the technologies, and in fact, this is the age of AI, but ultimately, who runs the show? And the success of any organization depends upon the strategic management of the organization, how you deal with the competitors, how you see the positioning of the organization, and how well versed you are not only with the technology but the training and development of the people you manage. Management, of course, I have seen that in HR, earlier people used to think that HR is only doing the induction, the hand holding, then administration, learning and development, promotions, career promotions, and all that. But over a period of time, the role of HR has changed and HR has become a strategic partner. What I have learned during my days as a HR professional, that the HR person has a very, very good understanding, not only of the people working in the organization, but of the overall positioning of the organization. For example, when I was working with NTPC, so I used to work with the engineers who used to come from various backgrounds like civil, electrical, then electronics. And whenever people used to ask them, एक इलेक्ट्रिकल से अगर सिविल के बारे में अगर पूछा जाता था, तो he used to say कि I just don't know. So there were very few engineers who had the overall idea of the power plant. So sometimes they used to call me कि बॉस जरा पावर प्लांट का जरा आपको करा दीजिए, आज फलाना एमपी आए हैं एंड यू हैव टू कम एंड शो देम द पावर प्लांट. So I said, I'm not an engineer. So they said, no, engineer is not required because you explain them very well about each and every component of the power project. That gave me the opportunity to learn about the technical nuances also. Because overall, it is not about the intricacies, but the overall working of the power station. And initially, it was thermal, because more than 80% of the power was being generated by the thermal power projects. I'm talking of the scenario around 30 to 40 years ago. And that time, the emphasis and why we shifted to thermal, there was a reason, because the capacity addition in the thermal power projects is very fast as compared to hydropower projects, because the gestation period in hydro is much more, and the the geological uncertainties are very, very high. For example, NTPC today is coming up with the project on Alaknanda River in Joshimath, near Tapovan Vishnughat Pariyojana. And it has been delayed many times because of the natural calamities. You never know. 2013 Kedarnath tragedy, you still remember. It has impacted most of the power plants severely. Some of them were washed away. So those uncertainties cast a spell on the gestation period of the hydropower stations. The government wanted to execute these power plants within a time frame. And that's why the NTPC was born in the year 1975, and the task of NTPC was to commission these thermal power projects in time. And I remember the motto of NTPC was the ahead of schedule commissioning. And this was very, very new in India because majority of the projects, as you are aware, were got delayed because of various reasons. And NTPC created a culture where the plants were being executed well ahead of the schedule. For example, the time of establishing or commissioning one unit used to be 48 months. And I remember in a plant in Ramagundam, the unit was commissioned in 44 months. And very, very strangely, when the unit was commissioned ahead of schedule, NTPC did not tell Power Grid that our plant will be commissioned 4 months ahead of schedule. So you please come up with the transmission lines. The project was commissioned, but there were no transmission lines. And that's why the NTPC had to wait for another 4 months when the power could be transmitted. So that was the work culture, and HR played a very, very major role. And in fact, let me share with you that in the year 2008 and 9, NTPC HR was third best HR in the country. And it was all because of the policies, because you need HR need to formulate transparent policies so that each and every employee get the fair opportunities for careers, progress, and the right place for right person at the right time. So that kind of a culture was created in power sector. We were very lucky that we were used or exposed to one of the best and the finest policies in HR. You were asking about my, and NTPC was a system driven organization. What I learned that the individual doesn't work, but it is the system which worked in NTPC. NTPC is such a big company, and today generating more than 70,000 megawatt of electricity. More than 30% of the electricity which is being generated in the country is produced in the NTPC plants. So that such a big organization you cannot run simply by individuals. You need to have very, very strong systems. So those systems have taken NTPC to those heights when it is the sixth largest company in the world as of now. You were asking about the experiences and these organizations. In fact, I remember or recall one very interesting instance in NTPC. In fact, I was posted at Dadri project. And Dadri is very close to Delhi. And for that, the critical area was the coal was to come from Bihar. And we had to lay a railway line from Dadri to the project site, which was 13 kilometers away. So here also the project was almost ready to be commissioned, but the railway line was not ready because we had to take the land of 13 villages. And as you are aware that the Dadri area, the predominantly is occupied by the Gujars, and they are, of course, a very, very comparatively hostile, you may say. So NTPC was not able to make any headway, and there was a lot of pressure कि आप land acquire करिए. So even though it was not my field, but I was given that responsibility कि जोशी तुमको acquire करना ही करना है. So earlier the officers were not going to the field because they were scared, and there were a lot of incidents where happened when the people were shot dead on the spot. So none of the officers was ready to go. So आप तो जानते हैं पहाड़ी आदमी तो कहीं भी घुसने को तैयार रहता है. So I entered the bastion of the Gujars. I entered their houses, their families, and all that. Started talking even to their women, who were always very big ghungat and all that. And I used to ask them कि मैया आज क्या बनाए हो, कुछ बेटे को भी कुछ खिला दो. तू मेरी जमीन लेने आया है, भाग जा यहाँ से. That used to be the words. मैं अपनी जमीन नहीं दूंगी. It was very difficult to create or establish a rapport with them. But I used to go to every village and talk to the people. So gradually I was able to establish a rapport with the people, with their families and all that. One day what happened, but I was not able to make any headway. And there was a lot of pressure कि तुम कुछ नहीं करते हो जोशी, तुम जाते हो और खाली हाथ लौट आते हो. मैंने कहा नहीं सर, माहौल बन रहा है. Things are improving and we will be. One day what happened, there was a big leader of their village Bihari Singh. And 13 villages, he was a supreme commando. So I was going and traveling with my boss to that area. So he was traveling by his ambassador car and he saw both of us, and he was having a double barrel gun, and he pointed the gun at us. "Oh, stop, hands up." And we just got shaken up. Ki, kya hua? He said, "How dare you enter this place? This is Gujar's place and none of the officers can enter." So my boss, he just fell down. He said, "Aaj kya ho gaya?" So I said, "Sir, this is your project. And we have only here doing the national duty. Your boys are getting job. Everything is happening for the betterment of this area. This project is for you. If you ask me, I'll leave. Tomorrow, a next person will come. But sir, you have to allow us." He said, "No, nothing doing. Get lost." You know what happened the next day? Somebody shot at him, and a bullet pierced through his mouth. Though he was taken to the hospital, he was admitted, bad shape. Second day, I told my boss, "Ki please chalo Bihari Singh se milne jana." He said, "No, no, no, I will not go." I said, "No, agar project banana hai to hame jana padega." So both of us with bouquets and all that went to the hospital and stood outside the door of the room, and we were just watching people coming in, going, coming in, going. 45 minutes we were standing outside, just I'll poke my neck inside and see whether he's observing. When the room was vacant, both of us went there, and without speaking a word, handed over the bouquet to him. He get well soon, sir. And he was observing both of us. And I saw tears in his eyes. And after some time, because he could not speak, so one of his goons who was standing, so he just catch hold of him and my hand, and like this, he said, "Go ahead." And that was the time when the IRCON, with all the machinery and all that, waiting for months, everything was there because they were not getting any way ahead. Ki tum kaam shuru karo. So when he said like this, I said, "Kya ho gaya?" Maine paunch hue. Maine kaha pranam. And tomorrow I called the next day, the IRCON team, ki you start the work. He said, "Not possible." "How can you say?" And I was a very junior officer. He said, "Ask your general manager to come." I told my general manager. He said, "Are you sure?" He said, "But now you will have to wave the red flag." I said, "Don't worry, I'll do that." And next day the work started, sir. And we were able to construct that railway line. And that was really a very, very big feather in the cap. And I visited last year and I saw how things are moving in that project. So there are small things which we did. In fact, when I was with Satluj Jal Vidyut Nigam in Himachal Pradesh, what happened was that our head office was in Delhi. And there was a lot of political pressure from the Himachal government to shift the head office to Shimla, but we were not agreeing. So ultimately, there was so much of pressure that they took out with the ministry and issued transfer orders of all 103 employees who were working in Delhi. We went to the High Court also, but High Court also ultimately said that it is the discretion of the organization to transfer you, so you cannot really challenge it. But they said and instructed the organization, you have to take care of these 103 people. If they go to Shimla, you arrange their office, you arrange their accommodation, everything within 3 days. And then we came to Shimla, arranged accommodation in various hotels, hired buildings, 6-7 buildings we hired. And, in 1 week, all the people were transferred, were settled, when in their rooms, in the offices, and all those places like that. So, challenges used to come, and not only it is the HR, but anything, And as we talk about VUCA word, VUCA means volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. We talk about that. So it was always there, not only today, but in any organization, you will find that the challenges will come overnight. And it is the HR who will be given the responsibility without knowing anything about that, but you will be given कि ये आप शुरू हो जाइए and you have to resolve these issues within this period of time. So a lot of challenges we faced, in fact, in the Tehri Dam also, when the project was being commissioned, and there you had to close the gates. And that was the most challenging because of area of 44 square kilometers. And you have to tell a lot of people, population, densely population living in that area. And once the level start rising, each and every person has to vacate. So that was a very, very big challenge. And in association with the district administration, warning systems and all that, the way water increases, nobody imagine how suddenly you will find, अरे ये तो घर के अंदर घुस गया है पानी. But that kind of challenges one has to learn to take, and it is your tenacity that how you are able to communicate and able to establish a rapport not only with the administration but the people, because directly with the people we were dealing, thousands and thousands of people used to come, jalus nikalenge, ye karenge, mashal jalus, so many agitations you might have heard in Tehri, and
Yes,
it took
sure.
really a lot of
Yes, sure.
time to.
These are really interesting experiences. सुनने में बड़ा अभी बड़ा लगता है, बड़ा सिंपलिस्टिक, लेकिन जब इनके पीछे जो बहुत सारे कॉन्फ्लिक्ट रेजोल्यूशन करने पड़ते हैं, एचआर मैनेजमेंट करना होता है, कम्युनिकेशन और पीआर स्किल्स यूज करनी पड़ती हैं, अनसर्टेनिटी से डील करना होता है. ऑन द वन साइड यू हैव द प्रेशर फ्रॉम द ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, ऑन द अदर साइड फ्रॉम द पीपल. So these are interesting experiences, Avinash. Now, another technical question that because you have already confessed that even HR people have to be well versed with the technical requirements. So you have worked with both conventional, that is NTPC, and green energy, your hydro power corporations. So what is the comparison and competitive advantages of both? Briefly.
In fact, as you recall that initially I had shared that the non-conventional and the conventional. So conventional was, in the beginning also the main criteria was the how the energy deficit of the country can be made up, and you need to come up with the power stations where you can leverage by whatever mode you can, because the industrialization, the industrial growth of the country, you need sustainable power sources, and for that whatever be it hydro, thermal, now there are a lot many others. You have geothermal, you have wind, and you have solar. In fact, solar has changed the whole scenario. So far as the wind energy is concerned, I'll just tell you that in fact Uttarakhand also we tried to explore that where wind energy can be used, but the in Chennai there is an institution which conducts a survey for wind energy, and very small one place was identified in Uttarakhand which is known as Bacheli Khal. When from there Devprayag you are going from Rishikesh to Devprayag, that place is there. And other than that, there is not a single place in Uttarakhand where a windmill can be established. So Uttarakhand did not have any place for wind, and you will see that only the coastal areas in India have that facility. Tamil Nadu is generating more than 10,000 megawatt of wind energy. Karnataka, Gujarat has a very long coastal line, and they also come up with very, very good wind energy power plants. But the solar has done a major revolution, and Har Ghar PM Surya Bijli Yojana, that has become a boon in majority of the areas all over the country. In fact, in the remote areas of Uttarakhand, where it is very difficult to lay the transmission lines, it has come very, very handy. So, solar energy has changed the scenario with the hydropower. The biggest problem is hydro was the gestation period. 4 साल की जगह 8 साल 10 साल, and such a long, the country cannot wait such a long for the commissioning of these power projects. And that's why, government also said, and the emphasis was shifted to solar, and because thermal also, the emphasis now has moved to solar and other modes of energy. And so far as the both of them are concerned, in any case, uh, this gas and thermal have to gradually be winding up, because ultimately their sources are they are finite. So you won't be having another 50 to 100 years, there won't be any coal left in the mines, because the way we are consuming. So we ultimately, now another area which is coming up very fast is the nuclear. Earlier we had 4 or 5 nuclear power plants, but now India has signed this thing for uranium with the other countries, and the government is now laying emphasis on nuclear and even hydrogen power. You will see that one train has recently started functioning in trials of hydrogen energy. So those new sources of energy where they are less polluting, ultimately you have to see how the greenhouses effect can be lessened. And overall, you see Delhi. So the AQI is almost 350, 400. You can't even breathe. So ultimately, by 2070, you have to have a zero emission. And for that, you have a long way when you have to lessen the dependence on thermal and other fossil fuels. So I feel strongly that you have to have perennial sources of energy and more reliance on solar.
वेरी वेल सेड. एक अविनाश, एक समटाइम्स इट अकर्स टू मी, अभी लोगों को या तो वी हैव नॉट बीन एबल टू डू इट ऑन ग्राउंड, या अवेयरनेस नहीं है. Solar can be a game changer. Not only it will save the environment and your electricity bill, it will also provide you an extra sitting space. उसके सोलर रूफ जैसा बना के बढ़िया सा अपना एक नया ड्राइंग रूम, स्टडी रूम, नॉलेज रूम, जो भी कहिए, या ऑफिस रूम, इट गेट्स यू दैट एडवांटेज. अभी इसका बारे में ज़्यादा मैंने कहीं देखा नहीं, लेकिन मैं सोचा जरूर है कि ऐसा हो सकता है कि आप उसका पाइप्स का स्ट्रक्चर बना के उसमें शीशे लगा के ऊपर से रूफ उसकी ये लगनी है सोलर की, तो दैट कैन बी ए वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग थिंग. अब आपने हिंट दिया तो मैं पूछ लेता हूं आपसे, बिकॉज द हाइड्रो पावर हैव देयर ओन प्रॉब्लम्स. वन ऑफ देम इज, यू सेड, लॉन्ग gestation period. Second one is the environmental concerns. So what are your thoughts on newer trends in environmental concerns in Uttarakhand, particularly about the mega hydro power plants?
Uday bhai, I want to share one very interesting fact about the large hydro projects, and I will cite the example of Tehri Dam. In fact, if you recall the 2013 floods, तो 2013 की जो केदारनाथ की जो आपदा आई थी, and I was in Rishikesh on 14th, 15th, 16th of June 2013. 3 दिन तक जो महावृष्टि हुई थी, और उसकी वजह से जो फ्लड्स आए थे, अगर टिहरी डैम नहीं होता तो हरिद्वार और ऋषिकेश भी आज नहीं होते. अब मैं आपको बता दूं कि ये कैसे है. यू शुड नो दैट द river, the flow of the river changes from season to season. During winters, for example, in the January, the discharge is minimum. For example, the discharge in the Ganga river is around 100-120 cumecs in January, which gradually increases, and during the month of July and August, it goes up to 3,000-3,500 cumecs. So that is the maximum. So fluctuation from 120 to 3,500 cumecs. Now on those dates, so 3,000 में जो भगीरथी है, भगीरथी एंड अलकनंदा मीट एट देवप्रयाग. Bhagirathi supplies one part and Alaknanda supplies two parts. It means the three parts, the contribution of Bhagirathi is 100 and Alaknanda is 200. On the day of 16th of June 2013, the discharge in Bhagirathi was 5,000 cumecs and Alaknanda it was 8,000 cumecs. Now, incidentally, the reservoir was empty in June. रिजर्वायर भरता है अगस्त में. तो जिस दिन वो बाढ़ आई जून के महीने में, रिजर्वायर खाली था, 740 मीटर के लेवल पे था. इट गोज अप टू 830. सो द गेट्स ऑफ टेरी डैम वर क्लोज्ड. वो जितना सारा पानी, जैसे हम कहते हैं ना कि शिवजी ने हलाहल अपने गले पे रोक दिया था, टेरी डैम ने वो सारा जो भगीरथी की जो एनर्जी थी, जो 5000 क्यूमेक्स पानी था सर, उसको टेरी डैम ने रोक लिया. और एक बूंद भी पानी जो है भगीरथी में नहीं आया. और जो 8000 क्यूमेक्स पानी जो अलकनंदा में आ रहा था वही ऋषिकेश में पहुंचा. तो सर यदि 8 और 5 13,000 क्यूमेक्स पानी, जब मैं ऋषिकेश में खड़ा था 16 तारीख को, तो बैंक पे अगर थोड़ा सा भी पानी आता 1 या 2 मीटर ऊपर, तो ऋषिकेश और हरिद्वार के अंदर सर पूरा पानी चला जाता. वैसे भी आपने देखा होगा कि जो फ्लड मिटिगेशन के लिए कहा जाता है कि बड़े डैम्स का बहुत ज्यादा रोल है, और नीचे भी बड़ी जगहों पर जो डैम्स बनाए गए हैं उनका काम जो है वो फ्लड कंट्रोल भी होता है. और टेरी डैम ने बखूबी ये साबित भी कर दिया है कि फ्लड कंट्रोल, बिकॉज मेजॉरिटी ऑफ द पावर दीज थिंग डैम्स दे आर रन ऑफ द रिवर स्कीम्स. मीन्स आप पानी को रोकते नहीं है. देयर इज अ डाइवर्जन डैम और बैराज, you divert it through a tunnel or a channel and then you generate electricity. लेकिन टेरी डैम अकेला है जो 6 महीने तक जो रोकते हैं पानी, आप उससे 6 महीने आप बिजली पैदा करते हैं सर. So that is the advantage. And another thing, सोलर का जो सबसे बड़ा डिसएडवांटेज है, you cannot store solar power. आप बैटरी से करते हैं, पर आप ज्यादा लंबे समय तक सोलर पावर को, आपको you need to have batteries, otherwise जो दिन में पावर आप जनरेट करेंगे उसी का आपको यूज करना है. तो एक बड़ी यहाँ पे दिक्कत पैदा हो गई है. ज्यादातर जो सोलर पावर पैनल जो लगाए गए हैं वो रात के लिए स्टोर नहीं कर रहे हैं. तो उसके लिए अब क्या किया जाए, इसमें अब जो सबसे हैंडी जो चीज आई है वो आई है पीएसपी, पंप स्टोरेज स्कीम्स. आपने सुना है उदय भाई पंप स्टोरेज स्कीम्स?
ना अभी सुन रहा हूँ.
तो सर मैं आपको बता दूं, और वो सबको, मेरे जो श्रोता यहाँ सुन रहे हैं उनको जानना जरूरी है कि पंप स्टोरेज स्कीम होती क्या है. सर whenever there is excess energy in the grid, क्योंकि थर्मल में क्या होता है कि जब एक्सेस पावर पैदा हो, फॉर एग्जांपल रात को तो फैक्ट्री आपकी नहीं चल रही, इंडस्ट्री नहीं चल रही है, तो जो सरप्लस पावर पैदा हो रही है वो ग्रिड में वेस्ट चली जाती है, इट इज नॉट यूटिलाइज्ड. तो सरकार ने ये सोचा कि जो एक्सेस वाटर है इससे हम रिवर्सिबल टर्बाइन से हाइड्रो पावर में 2 हमारे पास रिजर्वायर होंगे, अपर रिजर्वायर और लोअर रिजर्वायर. तो आप क्या करेंगे, ऑफ पीक में जो लोअर रिजर्वायर है उसकी बिजली से, तो रात को आप क्या करेंगे, जो टरबाइन है इट विल बिकम ए पंप. जब आप उसको बिजली देंगे तो वो पंप बन जाएगी और वो पानी उठा के ऊपर ले जाएगी. सो इट विल बिकम ए बिग बैटरी. जितनी पावर आपने सोलर से जनरेट किया है उससे आप पंप के जरिए जो लोअर रिजर्वायर का पानी अपर रिजर्वायर में ले जाएंगे, और जब पीकिंग पावर की जरूरत होगी उस समय आप बिजली पैदा कर लेंगे. सो ये जो नया कंसेप्ट है, टेरी डैम ने ऑलरेडी 1000 मेगावाट का पीएसपी इंस्टॉल कर दिया है सर. This is for the information of all, and that's why it is now a 2400 megawatt power complex. Teri power complex is a 24, उसमें 1000 वाट उसका जो मेगावाट का है, that is the main scheme. Then Koteshwar is 400. This is a balancing reservoir, low reservoir जिसकी की पानी आप वापस उसमें चढ़ाते हैं. And then there is a PSP, pump storage scheme. सो गवर्नमेंट आगे और भी स्टेट्स में ये पंप स्टोरेज स्कीम्स को प्रमोट कर रही है. फॉर एग्जांपल मालशेट घाट है महाराष्ट्र में, और दामोदर वैली है, वहां पर भी ये पंप स्टोरेज चलाए जा रहे हैं. तो अल्टीमेटली हाइड्रोजन, हाइड्रो पावर इज ए क्लीन पावर, एंड फॉर बैलेंसिंग द ग्रिड यू विल बी रिक्वायरिंग जो भी हम पावर अभी तक. फॉर एग्जाम्पल दूसरा मैं आपको एक उदाहरण देता हूँ कि हिमाचल प्रदेश ने, मैं आपको ये भी बताऊं कि हिमाचल और उत्तराखंड की जो भौगोलिक स्थिति है मोर और लेस सेम है, और जो हम लोगों का हाइड्रो पावर पोटेंशियल है सर वो 20,000 मेगावाट के आसपास है। मतलब हिमाचल का भी उतना ही है और उत्तराखंड का भी उतना ही है, लेकिन हम लोग जो है ऊर्जा के उत्पादन में बहुत ज़्यादा पिछड़ गए। अभी तक केवल 4,000 मेगावाट ही हम लोग उत्पादन कर पा रहे हैं, यानी वी हैव यूज्ड ओनली 20% ऑफ द हाइड्रो पावर पोटेंशियल अवेलेबल टू अस, whereas on the other hand Himachal has been able to harness 55%। 11,000 मेगावाट बिजली सर हिमाचल पैदा करता है हमारे कंपैरिजन में। सो हम लोग कभी वो अविरल गंगा के चक्कर में, कभी जितने आंदोलन हुए उसके चक्कर में हम कर ही नहीं पाए, एंड मे बी बिकॉज ऑफ द गवर्नमेंट पॉलिसी ऑल्सो वी ऑलवेज लैग बिहाइंड। और जो हमारा सपना था ऊर्जा प्रदेश का, वो कहीं बीच में ही भटक गया, हम लोग नहीं कर पाए। तो मेरा तो अभी भी मानना ये है कि चूंकि ये एक हमारा इतना बड़ा सोर्स है, एक रेवेन्यू का सोर्स भी है, फ्लड मिटिगेशन का सोर्स भी है, ऊर्जा का भी सोर्स है, तो हमें पूरा ये प्रयास करना चाहिए कि आने वाले समय में जो अधूरी पड़ी हुई योजनाएं हैं उनको हम फिर से कार्यान्वित करें और ऊर्जा प्रदेश को बनाने में एक सक्षम भूमिका अदा करें सर।
थैंक यू। अब एक सवाल चलते चलते अविनाश दी ऑथर से बनता है
जी
ब्रीफली बताएं आपकी ये किताबें जो हैं
जी।
बर्ड्स ऑफ दून यूनिवर्सिटी, वाइट ओनली दून यूनिवर्सिटी, और दूसरा ये जो रोड मैप टू डेवलपमेंट ऑफ उत्तराखंड।
अच्छा, मैं बताता हूँ असल में असल में ये कि प्रोजेक्ट हम लोग कर रहे थे दून यूनिवर्सिटी में, कि हम लोगों के साथ एक टीम थी स्कॉलर्स की, बर्ड वॉचर्स की, और बर्ड वॉचिंग के बारे में कुछ महत्वपूर्ण तथ्य भी आपके साथ में शेयर करना चाहता हूँ कि दून यूनिवर्सिटी को हमने क्यों चुना। एक तो सर बर्ड वॉचिंग एक बहुत खूबसूरत हॉबी है, क्योंकि करीब 1400 के करीब प्रजातियां हिंदुस्तान में पाई जाती हैं, और इतनी ज़्यादा डाइवर्सिटी है, बायोडाइवर्सिटी है कि आपको और किसी क्षेत्र में नहीं मिलेगी। मैमल्स जो है 5-7 ही हैं, आपको शेर है, चीता है, हिरन है, आप 10 से ज़्यादा गिना नहीं पाएंगे। रेप्टाइल्स भी 5-7 होंगे, आपको ज़्यादा नहीं मिलेंगे। लेकिन बर्ड्स की इतनी प्रजातियां हैं, इतने कलर्स हैं, इतनी इनकी आवाज़ें हैं, बहुत फैसिनेटिंग होता है। हिंदुस्तान में 1400 के करीब प्रजातियां हैं सर। उन 1400 में से अकेले 674 प्रजातियां उत्तराखंड में पाई जाती हैं, यानी ऑलमोस्ट 50% ऑफ द बर्ड पॉपुलेशन इज अवेलेबल इन उत्तराखंड, एंड वेयर एज द एरिया ऑफ उत्तराखंड इज ओनली 2% द एरिया ऑफ इंडिया। So 2% में 50% bird population is residing, and that's why it gives a very very good field for play for the bird watchers। बाहर से आते हैं, और उनमें से भी जो 700 प्रजातियां हैं, अकेले 350 देहरादून डिस्ट्रिक्ट में है, और उनमें से भी 180 प्रजातियां दून यूनिवर्सिटी के कैंपस में है। तो आप ये मान के चलिए कि उत्तराखंड का 25% बर्ड पॉपुलेशन जो है वो दून यूनिवर्सिटी के कैंपस में अवेलेबल है। उसका एक कारण ये भी है कि बगल में रिस्पना रिवर बहती है, तो हमको कुछ एक्वेटिक बर्ड्स भी वहाँ दिखाई दे जाती हैं, और दूसरी बाउंड्री हमारी राजाजी नेशनल पार्क से जुड़ी हुई है। तो जो भी माइग्रेशन के दौरान जो बर्ड्स वहाँ से जाती हैं, वो कहीं ना कहीं उस कैंपस में वो रुकती हैं और उसके थ्रू पास करती हैं। तो एक बहुत सुंदर एक मौका मिलता है हम लोगों को कि बर्ड्स की जो प्रजातियाँ हैं उनको देखने का, और वो क्यूरेट करें उसको। तो ये काफ़ी मेहनत के बाद, कुछ सालों की मेहनत के बाद, हमारे जो साथ में जो स्टूडेंट्स थे और भी, और हमारे जो प्रोफेसर श्रीधर हैं, उनकी बहुत मेहनत थी इसमें, और इसमें करीब 6 लोग थी इस टीम में जिन्होंने अलग अलग समय पर वो बर्ड्स की फोटोग्राफी की, और बहुत अच्छी पुस्तक बनी है सर। मैं आपको कोशिश करूँगा जब आप मिलें तो आपको जरूर दिखाने का प्रयास करूँगा। हमारे राज्यपाल महोदय ने ही उसका विमोचन भी किया था। इट वॉज ए वेरी वेरी फैसिनेटिंग बुक। और जो दूसरी किताब है सर, उसके लिए हम लोग जो 25 वर्ष पूरे उत्तराखंड के अभी हुए हैं राज्य के, तो 2 साल पहले से हमने इस किताब पे काम शुरू किया था, द रोड मैप फॉर द डेवलपमेंट ऑफ उत्तराखंड, और इसमें हमने 6 वर्टिकल्स चुने थे, जिसमें कि पावर सेक्टर वाज 1, टूरिज्म वाज अनदर, सस्टेनेबिलिटी और इंडस्ट्रीज और हॉर्टिकल्चर एंड एग्रीकल्चर। तो इन 6 वर्टिकल्स के ऊपर हमने एक 3 दिन की कॉन्फ्रेंस किया था, और उसमें करीब मोर देन 50 पेपर्स वी रिसीव्ड, एंड जो उसमें जो हमारा डिस्कशन एंड डायलॉग था वो 3 दिन तक चला था। तो बहुत सारे स्कॉलर्स नॉट ओनली फ्रॉम देहरादून बट फ्रॉम वेरियस पार्ट्स ऑफ द कंट्री दे पार्टिसिपेटेड, एंड इट इज अ कंपेंडियम ऑफ सम वेरी वेरी गुड आर्टिकल्स, वेरी वेल रिसर्च्ड आर्टिकल्स, और मुझे मिलेगा तो जरूर मैं आपके साथ शेयर करूंगा सर। तो कुछ ना कुछ मौका मिलता रहता है, और कॉन्फ्रेंसेस कराने का मुझे बड़ा शौक भी है। एंड आई हैव बीन एसोसिएटेड विद कंडक्टिंग 516 कॉन्फ्रेंसेस, जिसमें से कि कुछ इंटरनेशनल कॉन्फ्रेंसेस रही हैं। और वो एक दिल्ली में हम लोगों ने किया था, इफ्टोडो का कॉन्फ्रेंस था। इफ्टोडो इज द इंटरनेशनल फेडरेशन ऑफ ट्रेनिंग एंड डेवलपमेंट, आई एम ए बोर्ड मेंबर ऑफ दैट। और उसका जो न्यूज़लेटर निकलता है उसका मैं एडिटर भी हूँ। तो यही कुछ एक्टिविटीज साथ साथ चलती रहती हैं, जो कि मुझे एकेडमिक्स के साथ भी जोड़े रखती हैं। और जो इंडस्ट्री और एकेडमिया के बीच में एक तारतम्य बनना जरूरी है, वो मेरा हमेशा प्रयास रहता है कि दोनों के दोनों एक साथ साथ एक प्लेटफॉर्म पे आए और एक दूसरे के अनुभवों से आगे बढ़ें।
थैंक यू अविनाश। अब एक छोटा सा 1 मिनट का सेगमेंट है, रिफ्लेक्स आंसर्स। मैं आपको स्टूडेंट बनाता हूँ, 4
Okay,
छोटे
sure.
सवाल पूछूंगा, 1 और 2 वर्ड्स में ये आपको जवाब देने हैं। देयर कैन बी इंटरप्रिटेशंस, बट वी विल ओनली रेस्ट्रिक्ट टू ऑब्जेक्टिव टाइप।
राइट।
तो पहला सवाल ये है, विच स्टेट इज बेटर डेवलप्ड, उत्तर प्रदेश और उत्तराखंड?
बड़ा
यही तो सवाल है।
सर ऐसा है कि उत्तर प्रदेश ही बेटर डेवलप्ड है सर। हम लोग अच्छी से तरक्की कर रहे हैं, बट देयर इज ए लॉन्ग वे टू गो।
ठीक। दूसरा सवाल, वैसे लगभग आपने उसका जवाब दे दिया। मेगा हाइड्रो पावर्स आर गुड और बैड फॉर यू उत्तराखंड एनवायरनमेंट?
सर इसको हमको
गुड और बैड, ऑब्जेक्टिव टाइप है
कि दे आर गुड बिकॉज उसका एक कारण भी मैं आपको बता दूं सर, कि आगे जो है ग्लोफ की बहुत ज्यादा संभावना है। हम लोग जो है एक थ्रेट के मुहाने पर हैं। इतनी जो ग्लेशियर लेक्स है ना सर, तो आज या कल अगर टूटती हैं तो जो फ्लड्स आएंगे, तो उनको हु विल टेक केयर ऑफ दोस फ्लड्स, जो कि कब बिना वार्निंग के आते हैं, जो कि केदारनाथ के आपदा में हमने देखा। तो कहीं ना कहीं सर इनकी उपयोगिता है सर।
ये आपने बताया वो टिहरी का एग्जांपल देके।
जी
वी गॉट इट। अब थोड़ा सब्जेक्टिव सवाल है, लेकिन आंसर ऑब्जेक्टिव है। व्हाट वर्क्स बेटर इन एन ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, एचआर और फाइनेंशियल मैनेजमेंट?
सर फाइनेंशियल मैनेजमेंट।
अरे मैं तो कुछ और सोच रहा था, कुछ और कहेंगे हम। शुरुआत हमने एचआर की थी
सर।
the last question is, what is more important for development? आप डेवलपमेंट की बात करते हैं, who is more important, politicians और सिविल सर्विस?
सर इनका तो गठबंधन है सर, ये तो एक दूसरे के पूरक हैं।
ओके।
एंड व्हाट आई फील सर, मेरा जो आंसर है वो ये है कि यू नीड ए स्ट्रॉन्ग विजनरी लीडरशिप, एंड इट अप्लाइज टू बोथ।
यस। सो अविनाश, आपने मुझे बहुत सारी बातें की और बड़ी नई जानकारियां भी बताई, और रोचक अंदाज में भी बताई, और सीरियस टेक्निकल इश्यूज डिस्कस किए। उसके लिए आपको धन्यवाद, साधुवाद। समय हमारा हो गया, 45 मिनट्स होने वाले हैं। तो चलते चलते आप यूथ और एडोलसेंट्स को क्या एडवाइस देंगे, क्या मैसेज देंगे इन 2 लाइंस, वो बता दीजिए। उसके बाद हम इसको बंद करते हैं।
सर यूथ के लिए तो मेरा बड़ा स्पष्ट है कि देयर आर नो शॉर्टकट्स इन लाइफ। आपको अपने उद्देश्य को प्राप्त करने के लिए सतत प्रयास करना ही पड़ेगा, और फेलियर से कभी ना घबराएं। ट्रीट फेलियर एज ए नेक्स्ट स्टेप टुवर्ड्स योर जर्नी। इट मे टेक टाइम, but ultimately if you have a firm resolve and you are committed to your goal, you will achieve your goal. और कभी ना तो हतोत्साहित हो, ना कभी परेशान हो, और हिम्मत के साथ आगे बढ़ें। That's all, sir.
Thank you very much for your time, and till we meet next time, शुभ रात्रि, नमस्कार। हमारे पहाड़ी में कहते हैं भले रहा।
Thank you, Pant Bhai, for giving me this opportunity to interact with you, and my best wishes in all your future endeavors. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you.